Hello and welcome to the Where's My Thing podcast, where we help you find your thing,
as well as help us find our thing,
in this exciting world. Today we are going to take a deeper dive into the world of YouTube and expand on what we spoke about in one of the previous episodes. So, let's get into it. So in the previous episode of the Where's My Thing podcast, Rob and I spoke about how and why we got started with YouTube, as well as the sort of things we did to get the channels up and running. Whereas this one, we want to talk a little bit about maintaining them, growing them, as well as talking about where we've sourced inspiration from throughout.
Essentially, how to make a good YouTube video. Hi, I'm Rob. I make books, I do videos, and I'm an editor for this guy over here,
Matt, who is the employer, should I say, of Rob. And I basically teach woodworking tutorials online, do woodworking projects, and, just an all-round great guy, to be honest.
Wow. Wow. I hate the fact that you are my employer. I've called you boss before, but employer, that sinks to a new low for what I do.
I think I've just sank to a new low by finishing my my CV with that.
So after those shocking intros, let's get into the 60-second update. The update where we tell each other what we've been up to in the last week. And basically, it's all about just keeping ourselves accountable to our own actions. So I believe, Matt, it's you to go first.
It is me. I'm pressing the start button now. No, it didn't work again. Now, well, Robert, in the past week, I firstly paid my tax for the year, which was a little bit of a hit, but I did that and it happened. I've been working on the toolbox project, so I glued it all together. I separated the lid. I've also installed the hinges. I've installed the lock, and I've basically just got to put a tray in it and finish it now, and that is that series complete. On that note, my PC has been confirmed as being built, which means I can start editing videos back from September all the way up to this toolbox I've just finished filming. I made you a frame, so I'll invoice you later for that. I got rid of the forum on my website and instead started diverting people to the fan club just because it's a much better community. I have been working on a charity project with #woodworking. James Howard, we had him on the previous episode. Go and watch that, and you can look at my Instagram to see what that charity project is. And I've also been working on improving the contact form on my website in collaboration with yourself. Biscuits.
Nice. That was really good.
That was all right, wasn't it?
Yeah, you've been up to a lot this week.
I'll tell you what, it's so much easier when you've got a calendar to reference.
Ah, of course.
I just go to the things that have been ticked off.
Right, so I guess it's my 60-second update time now. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to fill it out quite as much, but I'm going to give it a go. I've got my timer ready. Apparently, I've given myself 5 minutes. Don't want to do that. And I have time starting now. So, this week I have recorded and edited my first video. In fact, I did that yesterday. So in my new sort of piano school format that I'm doing, gave it a go yesterday. I think I can record and edit in under an hour and a half, which I think is rather lovely. Began a new book, got a brand new theme going on. I sort of wrote everything that I needed to in January, and I'm starting up the new one this month. Speaking of the old book, I've been detailing 6 new pieces, I'm going to have to cut my own 60 seconds.
Now keep going.
No. Okay, right. Detailed 6 pieces of the old book because they needed polishing before going into an actual published copy. Set up a new live streaming rig. I also live streamed, which was rather fun. That's on Twitch, by the way, Rob Harvey Music. Go follow me. And I edited the podcast, of course. 3, 2, 1. Cookies.
No! I saw Audacity clip really loudly then.
My ears clipped when you did that.
Oh, I forgot that you've got the microphone as well. Yeah.
That was the worst one I've ever done by far.
I think there should be a law on the Where's My Thing podcast that the 60-second update is it's like no man's land. Editing cannot touch that. It just has to...
I'm inclined to agree.
But even is the censorship, we're not censoring things in this necessarily, are we? Or are we? I can't remember.
I'm going to still censor things for the purpose of remaining available all over platforms.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was quite shocking, actually. Yeah. Yeah, well done. Well done. Good work. So, moving on, we want to take a deeper dive into YouTube on this episode and just expand on some of the things that we didn't quite cover in the previous episode, just to get it all down on paper, as it were, so we can just reference this episode in the future. People will ask us about YouTube all the time, and we can just say, listen to that other episode, and it's all there, all our current thoughts, and we can update it later if they change. But to be honest, we've had so many revelations recently that I can't imagine it's going to change that much from here.
I hope not. Not. It feels like we're on the pinnacle of everything that we'd ever need to know.
we just haven't actually done it yet.
Yes. Hence why we're telling you, so you can do it.
Yeah, and also so we can be accountable for actually doing it.
Exactly.
So, should we start from the top with this?
Let's start from the top.
Cool. So, we mentioned this in a previous episode where it's the reasons why we got stuck into it and how we started our YouTube channels. And so if you want to know more, go back and watch that episode. But if you have already done all that and you're sort of on the mindset of starting one because you're completely sold on getting all the benefits of YouTube in terms of the promotion and the fun that you have doing it, and also the moolah if you get further down the line, you're happy, you want to do it, you just don't know how to actually start it, or you don't know what's important when it comes to starting it, and that's what we kind of want to address here. So, starting from the top, number one thing, click-through rate and engagement. That's pretty much it. Am I right?
Yeah. No, that's fundamentally it. There's nothing more important than those two pieces of analytics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so let's break them down one by one. Firstly, click-through rate. What does that actually mean? Click-through rate is pretty much what it sounds like. It's what percentage of people see your thumbnail and then they click through on it. And that's sort of part of the process there. The thumbnail has to be really good and the title has to be really good. So we're going to reference people throughout this podcast who we think are doing it really well and who we've taken personal inspiration from. Obvious ones being like Mr. Beast and all that. But it's metadata to start with. You need to make sure that the thumbnail and title are really good in order for someone to actually click through it and watch the video in the first place.
Exactly, yeah. And then you've got the next challenge. If somebody's clicked on your video because of a title and because of a thumbnail, now they've actually got to see what content you've hidden behind those two things. So it's the engagement. Can you keep them watching from the start of the episode all the way to the end? Now, no one can get 100% viewer retention. It's just not achievable. But a viewer retention of about, 40-50% is very, very good. If you can get people watching to the end of your video, you know that you've got engaging content.
So yeah, the engagement and viewer retention isn't necessarily something that's just nice to have from a intrinsic reward perspective where it's like, 50% of people are watching my video. It's actually YouTube really likes it as well. And actually, we're experiencing this with a video that we posted a month and a half ago, which was the Amazon Basics video, the Amazon Basics plane, should I say. It got pretty good views from the start, but we were noticing that this viewer retention was staying at 50%, which was great, really nice. But it takes a while for YouTube to then pick that up. And eventually, a month and a half down the line, YouTube's now decided that 50% of people are watching this video consistently over a month and a half. This must be a good video. And it has recently just skyrocketed. Like, it is recommending it to people outside of woodworking. People are clicking on it saying, I was expecting to see about an RC plane and not a woodworking plane. What even is a plane? It's definitely being pushed outside the community as a result of just this viewer retention that we're getting, and is actually the inspiration behind doing this second podcast, because we're learning a lot from this process, that a lot of it's like just holding the line and trusting the process does work. You just need to know how to make it work to start with. Exactly. So what we're going to do is we're going to boil it down into all of these subcategories for thumbnail, the title, short-term viewer retention, and then long-term viewer retention, which is more on a channel-wide basis. And we're sort of going to bounce back towards the plain video and speak about how that has implemented these things in a really great way to actually kick off, and how you can look at other channels to get your own inspiration from to do the same thing, to basically go viral. So going through this one by one, starting from the start of the pipeline, thumbnails. Who inspires us on these, and why is it so important? What have we done wrong in the past, I guess?
And what are we doing now to experiment with them?
Thumbnails are something we severely neglected prior to it. Okay, I say severely. We put a bit of thought into it, but we focused more about making them pretty than actually clickable. Nothing really enticed people in other than that's a nice photo, which photos are just meant for viewing pleasure. We made everyone's home screen look nice, but not actually go and click on our video.
It's the sort of thing that you'd put on a wall as opposed to something that you'd put on the internet. Exactly.
And the thing is, with the thumbnails, is it's like, yeah, I mean, how much more important is a picture than the entire 15-20 minute video? Well, it's very important because that's literally the door they have to walk through to see the video in the first place.
That's a really good way of putting it. It's the door.
It is. It's
I like
that. Your whole... It's a 15-minute video, but you've probably spent about 5 hours on that video, so at least in what we do here. Mm-hmm. And the fact that could all go to waste just through neglecting a thumbnail is like... it annoys me that I've been doing this for 3 years, and that's only recently become a revelation. Like, that's literally how important it is, because all my work can just be for nothing if I don't do anything at this stage.
So it's interesting because we've actually looked at thumbnails in the past. We have analysed them in the sense of looking at one channel, and the one channel that springs to mind is Peter McKinnon. You, a few years ago, said to me, after looking at his videos, you said, oh yeah, I'm going to do this thing where I'm never going to put any text into my thumbnails because I'm just going to let the picture speak for itself. And well, that's quite a good mentality, and it probably works back when. That's fine. The problem is you analysed essentially one channel and didn't look at the broader picture. And Peter McKinnon's all about photography. His channel is fundamentally that thing. It's not about an extra bit on the side. And so if you're going to create your thumbnails, don't start to think, oh, right, I love this particular YouTuber, I'm going to copy their style. Nah, look at YouTube as a whole. Look at what's working and take stuff that are outside of your niche and start playing with that sort of format as well. Text overlays. I mean, you can go without text, but make the image itself bold and dramatic. Have a white outline around it to just see if it works. Because you never know, your community who sort of follows that sort of thing might start to click on your stuff because it just outshines everything else around it.
I think the reason, going back to Peter McKinnon, is the reason I got that so wrong at the time is because his channel was blowing up at the time, and his thumbnails were, really nice photos, and I put a lot of it down, his success down to the fact that these videos were being clicked because they looked so nice, when actually cinematography and cinematography tutorials back then, 3 years ago, they've only really recently began ramping up. And so he caught that wave early in terms of making it a really informative and also fun process. He had like a completely unique way of doing things. So that was the result of his success. And actually it was the video topics that engaged me rather than the thumbnails. They sort of supplemented it, but it was just the fact that it was this perfect storm of being a really good title that drew me in, and the thumbnail just ticked it off, kind of thing, which is what it should do. But focusing on a photography, videography world, you don't want to start ruining that thumbnail with words and all that sort of stuff. It needs to be raw and clean, ideally.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's the thing, though, because if say I'm really into video and photography, and that's the only thing that I sort of subscribe to, that's the only thing I look at, so YouTube's continuously throwing those sort of videos at me, all I'm seeing are these really nice photos all the time, when in reality something slightly different's probably going to catch my attention in that scenario. And I think that's a really fascinating thing, just the fact that you've already said that it's the door to your video, but if it's the same door as everyone else, people aren't still going to click through it, step through it. I'm missing. I'm so broken.
I'll leave you to have that mental breakdown. But the other thing that's really important is something that I've just completely forgotten on my mind.
Sorry, who's having the mental breakdown now?
I don't know. You've just passed it on to me. It's like yawning. So the other thing about focusing on a cinematographer's thumbnails and a photographer's thumbnails is that they are really good at taking photos. They are really good at making the subject of the photo the entire focus of the viewer. Whereas people like us, not necessarily natural photographers, natural posers or anything like that, we're not too good at that. Whereas if you focus a little bit on the sort of post-editing of thumbnails, you can crowbar certain things into it to make it more engaging. You can test things rather than have to go back to the studio or retake photos of stuff. It's just you tweak certain words, certain layouts of the thumbnail, all post-production, and it's just a much more friendlier way of doing it that doesn't... There's still a skill and a bit of a knack to it, but I wouldn't say it's as skill intensive as being a good photographer and having a good eye for composition and everything.
So I think what would be interesting then is if we talk about your 10 days in the workshop video. So that thumbnail is a little bit of a crazy one to begin with, completely different, and you've got a side-by-side image of your face, one clean shaven and one bearded, as if the 10 days in the workshop have basically turned you into a homeless person. Yes. So that was really different from everything you've ever posted before. It had incredibly vibrant colours on either side of the photo. It had unrealistic elements added in, like the beard. You can't grow one of them. And it's just really eye-catching because it's so different.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time it scrolls up on screen, I'm like, that was a good thumbnail. I'm really happy with that. But it's that whole thing of, I think there's definitely a trend at the moment of like comparisons in thumbnails where it's especially day 1, day 10, or like $1, $100. There's all sorts of that stuff going on. So I just wanted to play on that trend, and it paid off, I would say. Yeah,
definitely. And it's one of those photos or thumbnails that could have been taken with any phone or any camera. It's regardless that we took it on your fancy camera, we could have just done it on the iPhone and edited it in exactly the same way and got the same result.
Yeah, and that was probably the first time I spent a extended period of time on a thumbnail, really tweaking it, really refining it, and it's fun more than anything. I found it really fun. Once I, don't get me wrong, coming up with an idea was an absolute nightmare, but as soon as I just sort of stopped thinking about it as much and just kind of thought about what would be a really good thumbnail that just summarizes the whole video, that's somewhat over the top and clickable, I thought, day 1, clean shaven, day 10, representing how I felt after day 10, which was not good. Just ready to move out, ready to get into an actual house, which is why I put like this fake beard and stuff on me, and I tinted the background to be like a vibrant danger colour, like an atomic bomb's about to go off. Like, just completely, overdid it, but it was so fun creating, and it's just the perfect gateway into the video that summarizes it all in one shot.
Yeah, it's instant gratification with photo editing, I find. Instant. It's with... There's 3 levels, in my opinion, 3 levels where you've got photo editing being instant gratification, video editing being the stuff that maybe takes 10 to 15 minutes to see the results of, say, a montage you've done. And then you've got stuff like music production, where you've got to wait hours before you actually find out if you made a decent track or not, essentially.
Yeah, there is a bit of that, yeah.
But it's because of that fun element that it's not even a chore. It's worth doing for anyone to try.
Yeah.
So we've spoken about the thumbnail, and that is the fundamental thing. That is the first thing that anyone looks at. It's not the text. It is the colourful pictures.
Yeah.
So now we're on to the title. It's the shop sign above the door that leads to your product.
I really like that. That's a good one. Yeah. So we've been experimenting with this a little bit with the Amazon plane again. And I wouldn't say this is an area that we've put a lot of attention into, but we recently changed the Amazon plane video to something with, it was how good actually is the Amazon Basics plane, was the original video title, which sort of makes it, I would say it shuts off a wide range of people who aren't necessarily interested in planes.
It's a very niche title.
it's quite a niche title. Like woodworkers would be like, oh, well, I might be interested in buying that. Let's click on it. Whereas the general public's a bit like, I don't really care. Amazon Basics, I know them, but they do all sorts of products. So then we renamed it to, I'm paraphrasing now, I can't remember it exactly, but I made a $37 plane perform like a $337 plane. Instantly attached a value to it that opens the gates to a wider audience where people were like, well, I mean, he changed something that of £37 into something that's 310 times that amount. I want to know how he did it.
It's interesting because as soon as you've said that, as soon as you've actually even removed the Amazon Basics from it, it made me realise that the only reason why I think Amazon Basics might be bad in the first place is only that plane. Because I buy Amazon Basics tech, I buy cables from Amazon Basics, and they're brilliant, they work well and they're cheap.
Yeah, I do actually.
And so the fact that it's then been removed from the title, it's just like, oh, that's so obvious, because people actually might not perceive Amazon Basics as bad quality in the first place, whereas monetary value, everyone knows the difference.
I hadn't thought of it like that before. That's a really interesting perspective, actually. Yeah, I like that. That's very interesting.
There you go,
titles definitely worth playing around because it should be there to supplement. Well, the title and thumbnail should supplement each other, and we've got a split testing program that allows us to upload two different types of thumbnail and title, and it tests them against each other by swapping them throughout the day, and we get the best performance out of that. That's a long-term investment. Don't jump into that to start with. Like it's probably not worth it until you're actually generating income from your YouTube channel, unless you want to throw some money into it, in which case it's really fun, really interesting to have a look at.
What's the software called?
Software is called TubeBuddy. All one word. You need to get the premium subscription to it. It's the most expensive one, but it's got this A/B split tester on it. It's really interesting. I love jumping back into it and just making little tweaks here and there, experimenting with old thumbnails as well on successful videos. I'm like, why not? I can easily test it now and just see if I can improve it. Because the thing with YouTube is that it compounds over time. I've heard it referred to somewhere as each video is like a little worker for you, and the more workers you get, the bigger impact it makes over the long run. You can have one worker that works for you for 3 years and you'll get so far. You could then just add on that for 3 years and you've then got over 900 videos. If you posted every day, of course, and all of a sudden you've got 900 workers working for you continuously. Even those ones you posted on the first day are still working for you. So
I've always viewed it like a bank, essentially, because everything that you put into it and store within it is going to be giving you a return on investment in some format. Some interest rates are going to be quite low, but some possibly, like we've seen with a plane and for 10 days in the workshop, they're going to be quite high because they've done so well, and they will continue to do well at a certain level. They'll just plateau and have less of an impact than they do at this point.
Yeah, which I guess on a side note is probably what interests me or what attracts me to YouTube more than other platforms, in that the half-life of a YouTube video is so much more than what a Facebook post or an Instagram post or something like that would be, or Pinterest probably lasts quite a bit longer actually. But yeah, YouTube videos, just with a search and everything, they can work for you long term. And so even changing thumbnails from stuff you posted 3 years ago will be worth it. And same goes for titles and all that. So.
Exactly. So experimenting with those two things and swapping them out daily when you first release a video. If you really want, you can swap them out daily. You can look at the analytics of the videos, create your own graph in Excel or something, and just track things, see how they're going. You're not going to bother your subscribers from doing that. In fact, you're probably going to make more of your subscribers click on the video because they're seeing it change. They're like, oh, what's going on? Whereas for the viewers who aren't subscribed, they're just getting this video that might have already been recommended to them, but in different ways that are going to start to make them think, oh, I might click on this. And that's all you need.
So just to wrap up this section on click-through rate, if we want to sort of give you a call to action on this, Paddy Galloway's a really good one to look at. He'll give breakdowns on YouTube thumbnails and why they work and how they work and everything like that. And if you want to see them in practice, look no further than Mr. Beast and Dream, the YouTube channels. They are thumbnail masters, I would say. quite simple for the most part as well. I think they do really well at not overcomplicating them. And yeah, it's just a masterclass in knowing how what's currently trendy, because I feel like they set the trends more than anything.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. So let's get into the short-term retention of things. And by this, we mean the videos when people click on them. What are they going to get when they actually click on that video? So I'm being specific here because we're going to differentiate it with long-term stuff later on. But the short-term things are really, really interesting. So let's take a leaf out of your book with your 10 days in the workshop. So that has got a great thumbnail. It's got a great title. People have been clicking on it. Fantastic. The introduction is really interesting and engaging. It's Matt talking to the camera and moving fairly quickly through different things. There's fairly quick cuts. It's pacey. You're interested. You're engaged. If you were to hover over it in the YouTube app, you're going to see a lot of movement, and that's interesting. Yeah?
Yeah.
Then what happens is Matt has his intro theme play. About 2 minutes in, roughly, is it?
Yeah, quite late in.
We looked at the analytics. It drops. Absolutely drops. We had everyone's attention for 2 minutes because it was moving. It was engaging. You got to a theme where suddenly this flow has been stopped, essentially stopped dead in its tracks. It's regardless that the theme is powerful or has good movement in it itself. The story has stopped. People have clicked away. They've got bored.
I feel like the intro, rather than signalling the start of the video, in that case, it almost signaled, right, that's the end of the sales pitch. Do you want to stay or leave?
Yep.
It was like, it's the complete reverse. It's like it's a reason to leave for some people, because it's like, well, I've basically seen an overview of the story now. I'm not that captivated by it. I can't be asked to look at the rest of it. Whereas if you didn't give them that opportunity to have that decision, it's just, it flows continuously through at a good pace, fast pace as well, for at least for my videos. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's annoying because I really like the intro. I spent a lot of time on it, but
that's the intro theme you're talking about, and the visual effects for that, not the intro of the video.
Yes, it's just one of those things you just got to let it go, really, isn't it? It's like the child you never wanted. It's just, well, the child you wanted to work out, but I don't know where I'm going with this. But either way, I was very attached to it, and it almost, I guess because I saw it as like synonymous with my brand kind of thing, it's like flashed the logo up on screen, and it's like, well, what in the video now's got my logo on it or anything? It's like...
Every shirt you're wearing?
Every shirt I'm wearing, yeah, I guess I could just transit, good point. But, yeah, but after seeing that, we edited the Amazon Basics video, which was filmed afterwards, and actually it wasn't actually a conscious decision not to include the intro in that. There was no opportunity to put it in there. We just edited the video, put it together, and I was like, oh, got to put an intro in it. Well, where am I gonna I didn't fit. Sod it. I'll just put it out there and see what happens. Obviously, then reflecting on the fact that it didn't work out in the previous episode, and I was like, oh, fine, we'll put it out there. And it worked.
It works, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just not giving anyone the opportunity to rethink their choices. It actually sounds quite sinister in a way. It's a psychological effect where if you're tied into something, if you're tied into a story, it's why they do this in TV shows, especially on Netflix. Like, you'll get to the end of an episode of a larger series, and they'll do it in such a way that nothing is quite finished. They will have wrapped up a bit of it, maybe, but it's not finished enough so that when you flow into the next one automatically, you're still going, you're still compelled. It's not like anything's stopped to make you think, right, I feel satisfied, I'm going to turn this off now. Doesn't work like that. And it's also why they have the skip intro button, because they don't want to give you the opportunity to think about your actions. Yeah.
I think with all of this, if you are looking to get into YouTube and you're seeing this as a way of, like, a practical way of knowing all the things that you need to do in order to make that happen, this is going to be a lot to take on board, and it probably sounds like we know as much as the Netflix producers who produce those episodes. No, we have no idea what they're doing behind the scenes to make that happen. Firstly, we just appreciate how important it is. And secondly, this sort of stuff has been built up through us actually being a part of the YouTube platform and just observing how other people do things, just through leisurely watching their videos, and also being analytical in them sort of towards what we do now. Basically, everything that we're going to talk about in these short-term and long-term sections of viewer retention is going to be reflected back to a channel or a creator, whatever, who we've learnt that from and who we've taken that inspiration from. Because it's just stuff that eventually becomes nature. We didn't sit there in front of books or courses learning this stuff endlessly. Sure, we had them every now and then, but it's not something that we have dedicated our lives to studying. It's just a natural thing that's come as a result of us watching and just consuming videos. You start to learn trends over time.
Exactly. And then the trial and error in putting them into practice.
Yeah, trial and error. And instead of getting, I guess, emotional about when things fail, it's like, right, how can we fix it? Such as the intro. I could wish that people would watch the intro all the way through, but if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So let's have a little bit of a chat about the various YouTubers that we get this sort of knowledge from, essentially. And we did this in the first episode first episode of YouTube stuff, it might be episode 2, where we basically said who's inspired us over time. And we glanced over names for people to check out. But now we're going to sort of take a deeper dive and make sure that the people we're speaking about have real presence and real meaning within the YouTube community, and people who are worth looking at analytically. So if we start from the top of the list here, the fundamental person who we sort of followed for so long is Alec Steele.
Yeah, and I would say there's probably another one to chuck into this area as well, which is actually Logan Paul, who I know that Alec Steele takes a lot of inspiration from. And it's camera movements, cinematography, primarily energy on camera.
The energy. I forgot. Like Alec Steele. Jeez.
Yeah, we are nowhere near this level. We are probably quite passive individuals. And I'm pretty aware that Alec is as well, from what I've heard. He's just got this really good persona on camera. And actually, when you take notice of this and the effect it has on you as a viewer, you realise how important it is. And so we've obviously upped our camera personas in order to match that. Yeah. Because having a passionate, energetic individual on camera makes you passionate and energetic as well when it comes to watching it. So,
yeah, and you just want to keep watching because they're just so lively. They're living their life, and I'm going to live vicariously through them.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the presenting side, but then also with both of them, the cinematography around their channels as well. I mean, Alec Steele, sparks flying and everything. Like, what's not to love? But even Logan Paul's got some amazing cinematic shots or just storytelling shots in his older videos before he had all the big setups. It's all really well paced. It just makes for a stunning video.
Yeah, exactly. So Alec Steele, Logan Paul, take a look at them and think about them in terms of how they're presenting themselves and how the video is being presented to you in terms of those cuts and those movements, because they're both brilliant. And I keep wanting Matt to get into blacksmithing because of those sparks, because of those slow motion hammer hits. That'd be amazing. But no, it's just a plane walking across a piece of wood.
So as a result of watching these channels, we thought, right, cameras, presenting, energy on camera, this is all something that needs to go into our video. So we started learning them from elsewhere. With regards to the camera stuff, Peter McKinnon, who's someone who inspired us both. We've spoken about him already. I personally watched a lot of Rory Kramer, Sam Calder, and also a guy called Ben TK. They did a lot of cinematography, videography tutorials on making shots look cool and how to compose things. They're really good channels just for learning the basics of stuff and also more advanced topics. But it just gave me the basics to make a good, interesting video visually.
Yeah, so you got Peter McKinnon, who's going to give you sort of the nitty-gritty details, especially for photography. But if you look at Sam Calder's stuff, I can't speak for the other two because I can't say I've seen them. Like, that is mind-bendingly incredible. So
Yeah.
that's the sort of thing where you've got no idea how he's doing it, but it's someone to aspire to, because that level of content, it's not movie. It's not movie quality. It's not Netflix quality. It's almost beyond it.
Yeah.
It's its own thing, because I mean a lot of it stems around aerial photography. There's a lot of drone stuff going through there, but you might think, drones, they're past it now. You watch that or any of his videos and you're like, how the hell did he transition from going through this snowy landscape to flying through a tent on the snowy landscape to then appearing in this sunny jungle?
I knew you were going to reference that shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's another one where he goes over a waterfall, but it somehow molds into something else at the same time. And I'm still not sure what happens at that moment, but you're transported through these various locations. And there's no real story. There's no voiceover or anything like that. It's just flowing movement that keeps you encaptured. And that is something to aspire to get into every video.
Yeah, but you take inspiration from little elements as well. I mean, that drone shot you mentioned was amazing, but there was one that he did a video that caught my attention, which was my year 2019, I think it was. It might have even been 2018. Mm-hmm. There's a shot in that where they're drawing, it's not the Burj Khalifa, it's another building in Dubai. It's the one out on the sea. It looks like a sail. And it's an overhead shot of an artist painting that. And the camera is slowly zooming into the paper, and all of a sudden the paper starts like bleeding and changing colour, and then all of a sudden the camera zooms into the paper and it's transitioned into the actual building itself that it's then zooming towards, and it's like seamless.
Yeah.
Apart from anything, like it's amazing. But I took inspiration from right, well actually I draw plans of furniture and stuff quite often. What's to say I don't have a go at doing that?
Yeah.
And so I didn't do that, but I did a video just experimenting, didn't post it anywhere. It was just fun, where I was just scrolling through my phone with the camera filming it, and then the phone starts like warping and stuff, and then the camera zooms into the phone, and all of a sudden you're in the environment that photo was taken.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was actually one I did in Cornwall on the beach. Yeah, I'll have to find the video and show it to you, but I just took inspiration from that, and it's like the things that you can manipulate video to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just taking a little one clip of this amazing video he did was like, I can apply that to my videos.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of work. I haven't done it properly in a video yet, but in terms of inspiration, unbelievable.
Well, you say that. The Matt Esley website, that header, with the transitions of the movement, of the swinging of different things, the rotation of different things, everything's trying to blend one movement into the next, and it's got that same sort of feel into it. And it's not to say that should be done all the time by any means, because it loses its power very quickly. But if you were to just have those in occasionally, when they feel like they fit, it's those mind-blowing moments that might make people just go and share it just for that.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
Yeah, we're not focusing on this saying you need to be a good cinematographer to make a YouTube channel. We're purely saying take inspiration from other people and just be open to trying different techniques or things that aren't necessarily something that you would normally try in your videos. Just take inspiration from anything.
Exactly. So then, moving away a little bit from the camera movements of cinematography and the learning about the cameras, we've got Woby Design. Yeah,
so Woby Design, his name's actually Ben. I think he's in Los Angeles, does lots of things with recycling skateboards, or should I say upcycling skateboards. He's got an amazing YouTube channel, really creative guy, and I feel like I'd be good friends with him if I did meet him as well. Mm-hmm. But when I found his channel, it made me realise how I could adapt my content to be something a little bit more watchable rather than the long form series that I was doing back then. We've spoken about this at length, so we won't talk about it too much, but we eventually realised that series aren't as good as one-off videos, and at the time of realising that, I then found Ben's videos, and they're like 3-4 week projects, some of them, all condensed into one video, and it was amazingly done, and it made me think like, God, 3 or 4 weeks to do a project would have been like 15 parts for me.
Yeah.
He just did it all in one amazing video, and I took inspiration from him, as well as a few other people upon noticing that actually these one-off videos are the best way to do it. So again, It's not looking at him individually, it's just taking inspiration from someone and applying it to your own content.
Exactly. And we were slightly concerned about the concept of making it one video instead of parts. Particularly just because of the viewer numbers. Like, if you've got 10 parts and each video gets 10,000 views, that's a lot of views. It's very good. You've kept them going. But you have a look at the plain video that was now created with the same mentality of start to finish. It's just done in that video. It could have been spread across parts. It really could. It could have been a multi-part series where Matt was showing different bits that he was working on in specific detail. But was it going to get 350 plus thousand views in a series? Not a chance.
Nope.
Not a chance. And I would hesitate at maybe saying if it was a 4 or 5 part series, I doubt it would have hit 70,000 views total.
I was pretty much going to say the same thing. Yeah, definitely.
You would have got a lot of views on that first video. It would have trailed off immediately, and you would have had a core audience of 10,000 after that on each video.
Yeah. And even then, they wouldn't be watching it all the way through. They'd be dipping off throughout. Therefore, YouTube wouldn't like it. Therefore, it wouldn't get compounded over time. It would just be, it's you got to think for the long term with this.
Yeah, it hurts because you think, I could be making 5 videos out of this.
Yeah.
But realistically, people want to consume stuff now. They don't want to have to wait for the result to come out later. They don't want to have to wait just longer. If the video's already out, they don't want to have to watch an hour's worth of videos to see the end result. They want it in about 15 minutes.
Yeah. So in terms of more inspiration that I've taken stuff from, in the Living in the Workshop video and the Amazon Basics video, I tried a different... sorry that we always reference these 2 videos, by the way, as well, but they have literally just been game-changing for the channel, and a lot of this is just reflecting on those successes and working out, because we're working out real-time why these working on this podcast.
Let's hope that it continues, because we've got a big issue if not.
Yeah, but there's a little thing in that. I took inspiration from a Casey Neistat video called Do What You Can't, and there's elements of that where, or the whole thing's narrated, but there's certain shots in it where he's talking to the camera, probably miming it, but his miming lines up with the narration over the video. And it's this weird thing of, you've got this storyline in the background, that all these amazing visual effects that's narrating over, and then all of a sudden they connect and the shots blend, the narration blends into this one moment, literally like 3 or 4 words where the mouth and the narration is all synchronized, and it captures your attention. And so I started doing that anyway in those videos, and it worked really well. Again, a little bit of inspiration, just taking it from elsewhere, putting it in my video. Brilliant.
Yeah. Now that you say that, I've just remembered Stuff Made Here did that as well.
Oh yeah, he does with his wife, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. He puts his voice on his wife. It's brilliant.
I forgot about that. Yeah, no, they're really, really clever moments that just it adds to the storytelling element so well, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And it's jumping back to the fact that it's online consumable content and not something. I realise Netflix is online, but it's more like TV now. Like, you wouldn't see those sort of things on TV. It's almost cheesy. I mean, it is cheesy. It's silly. It's fun.
Yeah, essentially, I guess the commercial way of doing it in Netflix and movies would be and TV shows, is where the actors break the third wall, where they're in the scene and then they just turn to address the camera directly to express their thoughts or something like that. But anyway, moving on to the next ones, we'll skim over these real quick and just areas that I've taken inspiration from. This old Tony, he does this really funny thing where he'll start doing like a self-deprecating joke or just go off on a complete tangent, and midway through that tangent, the camera cuts and it's just to a next point where it's like he's almost made a mistake in the editing, or he's just cutting out. It's really well done. I can't explain it very well, but I've used that in a few of my videos and it's really funny. Stuff Made Here, again, he teases future episodes throughout the inventions he's doing.
See, that's clever.
Midway through, he'll be like, by the way, I'm thinking about doing this for the next episode. What do you think? And it's like, I was just going to have a moment of peace between this video where I having to wait for the next one. But now I know you're doing this, I've got to refresh your channel every time. So he does that. We haven't done that yet, but it's really good. Mark Rober, storytelling, we've spoken about that before, and there's a lot of analysis on his channel with regards to how he does that. And then there's another little one here. Macromona did Macromona's a woodworker, by the way. He did I think it was his garden dining table or something like that, and in the overview shots for it, I'm not sure if he put them in post-production or not, but there was these just birds in the backgrounds that you could hear while he was filming the overview shots of this beautiful table he made, and it just linked together really nicely. It made the shot really nice and peaceful, and like peaceful, I guess, and just satisfying. So I nicked it. I did it for one of my videos. You can go back and look at it. The overview video for the walnut desk. It was like the second series I ever did on YouTube. It's just in my dark and dingy bedroom, but I put some bird sound effects over it. Stunning. You elevated the video really nicely, and just a little tweak that I took from elsewhere. Not from looking for any information in particular. I was just open to taking that inspiration from someone.
Yeah, and those birds, it's creating a contrast. It's creating just a difference that are going to make people suddenly pay attention. We watched both me and Matt watched a presentation by this really good presenter, and he was talking to us about keeping people's attention. And one of the massive things that I took from that is he had a PowerPoint behind him, and as he was clicking through the slides, this is Alan Donegan, by the way, if you want to look him up. As he was clicking through the slides, there'd be a moment where the slide would literally just go blank. There'd be nothing, or he would just turn off the projector. And then whatever he said, you damn well listened to. Just because there was no visual element anymore. That nice, bright, colourful picture that was really well presented on the slideshow, great. As soon as that was gone, all attention was on his words. And it's the same thing with the birds on the project, on the product that you've created. You've gone from, I assume, sort of the rock music from before during the overview.
Probably.
And now you've got this massive contrast, and people are paying attention to this product.
Yeah, that's it. So if you take anything from this, it's obviously skimmed over a few little bits, but it's simply take inspiration from other people, watch other YouTube channels. You're probably doing it anyway. Just notice things that they're doing. You don't need to like dive into books or anything like that. It's just look at what other people are doing that you really like. Don't necessarily do it because it's successful. Do it because you like it. Because all of a sudden, when you start blending these all into your own videos, it becomes its own style. We've got our own video style now. We thought we did before. We've got a new one now. And that's undoubtedly going to evolve over time as we take inspiration from people who do something similar to us. It's the whole thing of just taking creativity from other people and making it your own without blindly copying it, of course.
Exactly. Which leads us on, I guess, to a little final point there in the short-term viewer retention. Is if you're going to take someone's idea as inspiration, use it as inspiration, twist it to your own characteristics, because otherwise you end up with videos that people, your subscribers are confused about, because you've suddenly changed and done stuff which aren't part of your channel's character. So a video I'm now referencing is the latest one by Veritasium. I believe it was on some lakes that are out in some desert somewhere. I can't quite remember the title of it, but I watched the video and I thought, that was decent. Let me scroll down to the comments. There's a lot of dislikes. The reason for it is it was funded primarily through YouTube, so people just dislike that in the first place. But it was created in the format of a TV show. Somehow I didn't notice this, but it was created in this format that basically had this fast pace, but never really told you what you wanted to know. It always alluded to the next thing, but with no satisfaction. It was right at the end when they actually gave you anything, and then they had arbitrary sound effects when it wasn't necessary. It was just designed in a way that wasn't Veritasium. And because of that, there was a lot of dislike for it, and I don't think it will do as well, just because the viewer retention would have dropped off immediately. The algorithm's not going to like that, apart from the fact that YouTube's probably going to boost it up themselves if they paid for it. And so if you're going to take the ideas, like Matt said, implement it into your own work with your own characteristics, or you risk alienating the audience you already have.
Yeah. Changing your format is a risky move. I mean, obviously, it's still got good likes to dislikes on that video, and overall, it's probably well received. But there is always a risk of making big changes like that it's going to go wrong.
Yep.
And you could either stick with it and continue to upset people, maybe make it the new norm and get new audiences in, who knows, or you could obviously revert back to your old ways of doing things. The advantage you've got early on is that you can rapidly experiment with all these different techniques, find out what works for you, and once you find that, hope that chances are if you enjoy watching something, other people will watch it as well. Let's be fair. So that's what to bear in mind. Just rapid experiment with things and take inspiration where you can.
Yeah. Exactly. So let's get on to the final part of this podcast. It's the long-term viewer retention that we're talking about. This stuff that makes people stay for the channel, stay for the person in it, not just for the video itself. You want people to like the video, you want people to share it, you want people to watch to the end, but you also want people to stay around for the next one.
Yeah. So there's a lot to be said around that with regards to the building a community and stuff like that. But that's quite a big thing that we are doing, still learning, I would say. But there are more practical elements of doing it. And for me, the best example and the one that I took inspiration from and learnt the importance of it from is a channel called Alpha M. This is a guy who literally just teaches styling and grooming advice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a really good channel.
Idea.
Yeah, I sort of started watching it when I was in my lower days, and actually grew to quite like him. He's quite a good presenter, really interesting topics. But he basically just goes over 10 tips and stuff like that, and it's all very well. But what he's really good at is backlinking old videos, saying he'll get to like tip 7 or something, mention something, they'll go, oh, by the way, if you want to know more about this, I've already done a video on that. Sure enough, you watch that video, he's already done a video on something previously, and all of a sudden you're in this web of like, you have to go back and watch this video to watch this video, and it's not done in an annoying way. You still get all the information you need, it's just the resources there should you want to learn about something more. So it's a really nice balance, and it's something I implemented for my early videos. I call it my web of videos. I've written about it a few times. Works really well because as not only does the audience appreciate it, but YouTube appreciates it as well, because you're keeping people on their platform for longer. That's the main goal with this. YouTube will promote you if you encourage people to use their service more, and you do that by making them stay on a video and stay watching multiple videos over time. The more you do that, the more you get promoted. It is a simple game that is so difficult to implement.
Yes, yeah, it's a very simple concept with some incredibly advanced stuff in the background.
Yeah.
So then you've got the backlinking, but you've also got the evolution of a concept. So by that I mean, let's take the Minecraft YouTuber. We've spoken to him. No, he's too big for us. Yeah, spoken about him before, called Dream. Now, he's existed for about a year and a half now, and his views are through the roof, millions upon millions every single episode, and millions of subscribers as well in the space of a year and a half. The reason why is because he had a particularly unique concept to begin with for his gaming videos, which did well. And then he evolved that concept after learning what went well. So he'd experimented with a few things previously to start with. And then once he found essentially the golden goose in his YouTube channel, he stuck to it and created iterations around that same concept, and it just blew up. So that's where people stick to his channel, because they know they're going to get an incredibly high standard of video, because they've seen it before, essentially. They've seen the video before, but now it's new. Now it's twisted in a slightly different way, and it's fun because of that.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously his Manhunt series we're referring to, where basically he just has to complete the game while one of his friends tries to kill him, which is completely against what the game's intended for, I would say, but it makes for an incredibly captivating watch. So how did he evolve that? Instead of doing one friend trying to kill him, he changed it to 2.
No way.
He then changed it to 3.
No,
he then changed it to 4.
No, when's he going to stop?
But what's interesting about this, right, is that obviously he changed that on his part, but also the nature of the game naturally evolves it. And it's not like they were jumping in the same map every single time.
Yeah.
It's a randomly generated world. It almost evolved for him in a way, but he just added this extra element into it that made it even more challenging on his part and the stakes higher, I suppose.
It's genius. It's genius. And yeah, you might end up thinking, well, that's gaming. Of course, that's going to be random, that they can do whatever they want there. But if we were to try and translate that into what we do, say the Amazon Basics plane, that went well. Why don't we look at other tools that are really cheap and then improve them? That could be its own thing.
Someone literally sent me a comment like, can you do this for the Harbour Freight one next, which is even cheaper? But we've already done this, like the Tool Duel series that I did years ago. I did a Tool Duel for 2 planes. People loved it. I was like, well, I'll do another one. I'll just evolve it slightly into this different tool. Happy days. Yeah. It's using those tried and tested formulas or concepts and just switching them out slightly. And riding the wave for as long as possible.
Because you give the audience what they want, which means that the viewers who watch your first video are going to end up watching the later videos. And because that's happening, YouTube are going to share it more. You're going to get more viewers to watch more of that as well. It's just this snowballing effect that just goes over and over and over again.
Yeah, and it always links back to the same thing, impressing YouTube.
Yes. So that's Dream, and that's evolving a concept. There's other YouTubers out there. There's a guy called Michael Reeves, who's just essentially a comedian who's particularly wacky in his personality.
He's nuts.
Who's incredibly clever as well. And so go have a look at him if you want to be impressed by the projects he does, and then notice how you immediately want to watch the next one and watch everything in his catalogue because it follows a similar sort of path. The final thing we now have is video theme. It's not quite the same. So a concept could be something that you come back to over and over again. Like the Tool Duel, Matt didn't do that as every single video, but he did come back to it over and over again. Whereas a video theme is, I guess it's more channel theme.
It's branding, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sticking to your guns with a particular type of characteristic. And we've got a few names here. I'll start with a guy called KMac 2021. We're still not sure if 2021 was added this year.
This is mainly around musicians, by the way, as well. We found that those have been quite strong themes and brands, I suppose, on YouTube. Even though, using KMac as an example, he barely looks like he's done any of it intentionally. He's just unintentional genius in what he does. Brilliant channel.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, I'll let you go on that because you're the one who introduced him to me in the first place. And I was skeptical at what this video was going to be, and now every time I see his videos pop up, regardless of whether I've seen them before, I end up watching them because I know what I'm going to get because I know his theme.
Yeah, so KMac, he's very difficult to describe. To start with, incredible musician, particularly guitar, like unbelievable levels, but he doesn't brag about that at all. Instead, he almost makes memes out of it. In fact, no, he doesn't. He did one video where he spoke about his favourite numbers and was just this completely over-edited, horrible video to watch, but in the most entertaining way. And I was in stitches at it. And he's got this weird theme going on where you know that he's a good musician, and he occasionally reflects on that. But just his theme is almost not having a theme. In a weird kind of way. It's like you know when you go into it that you're not going to get out what you expected.
Yeah. Well, you've got his personality is always in there. Yeah. It's everything always has a slight little twist to it, and it's never filmed well. It never has high quality green screen effects or anything like that because he does like to use the green screen occasionally. But if he did start to do that, he would put people off.
Mm-hmm.
He'd put people off. And it's just that rawness that he's got going for him that means his channel is something that I'm just going to keep going back to because I know what I'm going to get.
Yeah, it's easy viewing, and he you know what you're going to get. And that's the
Yeah.
whole thing with theme, isn't it? You go there because you want to you want to see something.
Yeah, and that stems from evolving a concept to begin with, and then finding out that concept is so good that it can become your channel, and it's worth sticking to it. It's all well and good saying, oh, well, I've got this format, I've got this theme, I'm going to stick to it. If you haven't got the viewers, then there's no point in the first place.
Yeah.
So you've got to evolve a concept that's worked well in the first place, and then you might end up with a theme overall. The other two we've got named here are Daniel Thrasher, an incredible pianist / comedian. He's got his format. He ends up talking to himself in the videos and cut in a really good way. And they're really short videos. They're really tidy. They're really just digestible, I guess, sort of the phrase is. Consumable.
Yeah.
And it's similar concept. It's just fun, clever, entertaining, and you know you're going to get that in every video. And it's not like he ever changes location. It's not like he ever changes to a handheld camera. It's always on a tripod. You know what you're going to get, and it's a good formula.
Yeah. We've also got Davey504 here in the same sort of musician realm. Bassist. Unbelievable bassist, musician like the other two we've just referenced, but he just builds on that in a more it's more of trendy manner, isn't it? We said it's like memed almost, where he knows what the state of the internet is at the moment, and he's probably realised that through posting a few jokey videos or something in the past, something that's completely different. It's really paid off, and it's like, right, this is the area I need to go down. So it's being trendy as well, and just I guess it's finding the balance between, like, they're obviously amazing musicians, all these people we've referenced, but they are having to add in these extra elements that make it not all about the music. It is making it suitable for the internet as well, and that's sort of what we need to start doing with at least my woodworking videos, where great, make it as much about the woodworking as possible, but just add this extra element to it that makes it work on the internet, at least in those areas where it's entertainment. Tutorial based, no, you need to teach people, but yeah, think about that. Exactly. So it has these layers. There are these fundamental things from start to finish that you can do to make YouTube like you, to make YouTube want to promote your stuff, and to make people want to watch your videos, which essentially is the same thing. So you start off with that thumbnail. It's got to be vibrant. It's got to catch people's eyes, because those are the things that people are clicking on to actually get into your videos. As Matt said, they're the doorway to whatever you've got back there. So then you've got the titles, and they're just highlighting. They're giving you a little bit of extra information, or just trying to urge you through that door. I don't know if you had anything extra that was sort of... No, I think the analogy is really good for the shop sign. It's like, this is the one to go through.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's the shop sign. That's the advertisement for the door itself. And then you get through into your main video, which is essentially what you're showing in your shop. And you've got to make sure that it's interesting throughout. You can't give people the opportunity to click off or walk out of the shop, because people are fickle. People just want that instant gratification of everything right now. So make sure you give it to them continuously. That's all about that viewer retention. So thumbnails and titles, that's your click-through rate, or CTR. Then you've got your viewer retention in the short term with your video, and then the long term is the themes and the characteristics that video encompasses that can then influence your entire channel.
Yeah, don't overthink it is the main thing. Just take inspiration from where you can. Notice what you like, write down why you like it, what they're doing to actually make it engaging, and just start implementing it in your own stuff. That's what we've done. We've got a really fun theme out of it now that we can't wait to explore further. And yeah, that's the best tip that we have, to be honest. Apart from anything like technical or like insider advice, it is literally just stay open to doing new, different ideas.
Yeah, and keep it fun for yourself.
Yeah.
Don't do stuff that is going to get you down in the future. I've tried to create a new video format for my own piano teaching, and I thought it was blooming brilliant, and it is probably going to be great if I could afford to hire a video editor to do it for me. But if I was going to do it on my own, I'm going to get bored, I'm going to get disinterested, I'm going to stop creating the videos, and that's the worst thing you could be doing.
Absolutely. What a lovely note to end it on.
Fine. Do you have a more positive note?
No, I think that's it, to be honest. I think we did it pretty well. I was just struggling to work out how to end it, and I think this might be the entry to my awful ending.
I thought it might have been as well.
Yeah, do you want to do the fun bits?
Oh, yeah. Just before Matt ruins the outro, and I'm already going to ruin it now because
I'm bringing you down with me.
you really are. But please, if you can, give us a review on iTunes and or Spotify. Have a look at our website for financial reports, where'smythingpodcast.com. And if you want to sort of get to know us a little bit more, see what else we're up to, there's actually a Matt Esley and Rob Harvey fan club on Facebook. You can look that up. And one of the questions to get in is talking about OSB, and you got to say you like it. If you don't say you like it, you won't get in. Just for those of you who aren't into the woodworking and know what Matt's up to. That's just a little clue for you.
Yeah, and also don't forget to subscribe to our OnlyFans channel. We'll see you next time.
That doesn't exist, you